Good afternoon, everyone. I am Anupama Verma, Assistant Professor in the Tirthankar Mahavid University under the Department of Management, TMIM. Today, I am going to give the lecture on the subject or the course we can say, that is Computer Fundamentals. Basically, computer fundamentals introduce, or it has some course objectives, like you can understand the basic details of the computer, the components of the computer, and understand the basic concept of computer. What are the functionalities, what are the generations, what are the classifications, what are the advantages and disadvantages, and some of the things which is the basic terms of the computer system. So these are the table of contents. First of all, introduction, then functionality, evolution, classification of computer system, anatomy, input and output technologies, memory and storage devices, application of computer, advantage and disadvantage of computer. Today I am going to teach you till anatomy of computer systems. So first of all, we are going to understand what a computer defines, or we can say what is the introduction of computer system. Basically, computer is a term, or the computer is a thing which is used nowadays, mostly nowadays. We can say without computer, today's generation doesn't work effectively and efficiently. We all are dependent on the technologies, and some of the basic technology we can say is a proper computer. So computer क्या है? Computer, what is a computer? Computer is an electronic device that receives raw data from the user as an input, process it while guiding by a set of instructions known as programs, which creates an output and saves it for a later user. Or we can say computer is electronic data processing tools that accept and store input data, process the data, and produce output in the desired format. Basically, what is the computer defined? That it basically takes the input as a user from the user as an input, we can say, and then generates and then process that data into a set of instructions, we can say. And after this set of instructions, we generate an output in the form of the information. So the computer basically work on these three things, that is input, process, and output. Moving towards the functionalities of computer, if we can look at it in a very broad sense, and a digital computer carries out of the following 5 functions. Or we can say the functionality of computer depends upon the 5 steps. First step is takes the data as an input. Second, stores the data instructions in its memory and uses them as required. Third, process the data and convert it into the meaningful information. Fourth, generates the output. And fifth, controls all over the 4 functions. Here is a diagram, that is input, process, and output. The input is taken from the user as a data in the form of the data, we can say, and data is considered as a raw facts and the figures. Second, process. That process is basically now sets up set of instructions or the programs or the calculations, the logics we are used to change the data into the meaningful form, or we can say a meaningful information. And that output is considered as the information we get after processing the data, or output also considered as a processed data. So these 3 terms, basically on these 3 things a computer's functionality depends. Next, moving towards the evolution of computer. Computer evolution, or we can say generations of computers. So there are the 5 generations, or in the 5 form the computer is evaluated. First, in the first generation, the first generation of computers, the period is from 1946 to 1959, and at that time the vacuum tubes are used. Second generation, 1959 to 1965, and that time transistor-based computers are used. Third generation is from 1965 to 1971, and at that time integrated circuits were used. In the fourth generation, 1971 to 1980, VLSI microprocessors based computers are used, and at the last, which is fifth generation, and this is the today's generation, here we use the ULSI microprocessor based computers. Basically, all these generations have some types First generation is of 40s, second generation is of 50s, third generation is of 60s, and fourth generation is of 70s, and fifth generation from 80s to the today's generation. So these are the 5 evolution of computer. We can briefly describe these generations. First generation. In the first generation, vacuum tubes were the foundational parts of the memory and the CPU. And these vacuum tubes are large in size, very expensive, they generate a lot of heat and have slow input and output devices, and also require ACs, and basically they are not portable. They are unportable, and they use lot of electricity. So the first generation computer, somehow the work will not done in a very effective and efficient manner. And these are the examples of first generation, that is ENIAC, EDBAC, UNIBAC, IBM 701 and IBM 650. Some of the examples of the computers which is based on vacuum tubes are of the first generation. So we are not satisfied with the first generation working, so the second generation is evaluated, and that second generation is from 1955 to 1965, and these computers use some of the transistors machines, which is very affordable, power efficient, smaller, more dependable, and faster than the vacuum tube based generations. Basically, in comparison to the first generation, the working of the second generation is far better than the first generation computer. They utilize transistors. Reliability of first generation is very good in comparison to the first generation. They are smaller in size in comparison to the first generation, and also they does not produce lot of heat in comparison to the first generation. But according to the advancement of technology, these generation computers are also not well satisfied. Some of the examples of second generation are CDC 1604, CDC 3600, IBM 1620, IBM 7094, and UNIBAC 1108. Now moving towards the third generation computer, they used the machines like transistors into the integrated circuits. The size of these computers are getting smaller from the first and the second generation. They are faster. Their maintenance thing is very less. They are very expensive. The AC is required, and also they consume less electricity in comparison to the first and the second generation. Some of the examples are IBM series, Honeywell 600, PDP processors, and IBM. And also they support the high-level languages for the computer. Now, fourth generations are some of the very large-scale integrated circuits. They are extremely in small sizes. They don't need AC powers. The introduction of the internet concept is also in the fourth generation. Outstanding advancement in the fields networks, easy access to the computers. That's why the fourth generation are, in comparison to the first, second, and third, they are more reliable to use these computers. Some of the examples of these computers are EEC 10, Star 100, Cray 1 supercomputers, Cray XMP supercomputers. And at the last, the very most fifth generation, we are in the fifth generation from the 1980s to the today's generation. We are using these type of generation computers, and they use ultra large scale integrations. Basically, they include some of the microprocessor chips. They are getting smaller to smaller in size. They are micro in size. They basically use advancement things. The internet is also explored in this generation, and their accessibility to extremely powerful and small computers at lower prices. In this generation, the types of the computers are like desktops, laptop, mobile phones. These type of computers we use in this generation. So overall, we are getting the 5 evolution of computer. Now moving towards the next topic, that is classification of computer. Classification of computer, basically we can say in the normal terms there are the 5 types of computers. Classification or the types of computers are the same. We can classify the computers in these 5 forms. First, personal computers. They basically for the single person user. it is a single user computer system and having moderately powerful microprocessors. Workstation, basically it is also a single user computer system similar to the personal computer, but it has the capacity to use more powerful microprocessors. Mini computer, it is a multi-user computer system and capable of supporting hundreds of users simultaneously. Mainframe computers, it is capable of using hundred of users or more than hundred of users simultaneously and also use different types of software technologies. Supercomputers, it is extremely fast computer and which can execute hundreds of millions of instructions at the time of 4 seconds. So, in the normal form, there are the 5 classification of the computer. But according to the classification or according to the the 3 types of bases divided. We categorize the computers on the basis of 3 types. First, on the based on purpose. Second, on the basis of data handling. Third, on the basis of size and functionality. First of all, we can moving towards the first base, that is on the basis of purpose. There are the 2 types of computers, or we can say that computers can be categorized in the 2 types, that is general purpose and specific purpose. General purpose computers are the computers you basically used at your homes, like laptops, like phones, or the personal computers. And specific computers are the computers which is basically designed for a specific task. For example, the calculator, or some of the machines like ACs, DCs. So these are the based on the special purposes. Second, based on the data handling. Data handling is a term where basically according to the data handling, the computers is classified into 3 types, that is analog, digital and hybrid. First of all, we can go to the analog term. Analog term are the terms like the terms which is basically on the analog signals. They depend on the analog signals or the analog data, and the computers understand these form of terms and data in the form of analog. Second, digital computer. Digital computers are the computers like your wristwatches, the digitalized machines, which understand the digital data, and the hybrid computers are the computers which is the mixture of the analog computer and the digital computers. Now the last, based on the size and functionality, which is already I have mentioned in the first slide, that is PC, workstation, mini computer, main computer, and the supercomputer. They are on the size and the functionality. According to the first, there are the microcomputers are there, and microcomputers include the desktops and the portable devices or the portable phones we can say. So these are the computers which are smaller in the size, or we can say in the micro form. And the next is mini computer, main computer, and supercomputer. So overall, this is the diagram of the categorization of the computer system on the 3 bases. Now moving towards the anatomy of computer. Anatomy is considered as a basic organization of a computer system, we can say. How a computer system is organized in a form, or we can say structure of the computer system, or in other terms we can say anatomy of the computer system. So basically, this is the proper anatomy of computer system. You are seeing that here there is the input devices, there is a central processing unit, or we can say there is an output unit. So there are the 3 terms, that is input unit, processing unit, and output unit. In the previous slide, in the previous term, I have told you there are the 3 functionalities of the computer: input, process, and output. So according to this functionality, anatomy of computer is based on these 3 terms, that is input devices, central processing unit, and output devices. So first of all, in the first anatomy, there are the input unit, or we can say input devices. So input devices are the devices through which our input is taken in the form of the data, can say. So first of all, the data is taken by the input devices in the form of data or the raw facts and figures, and after that it is processed by the central processing unit, which includes the 2 units, that is arithmetic logic unit and the control unit. Arithmetic logic unit is a unit which includes some of the arithmetics or the logical operations, in the form of to convert the data in the form of meaningful information, and control unit is the unit which controls all the operations in a right form, in a right manner. So according to these units, a central processing unit works. And it also includes some of the memory unit. Memory unit is a unit where the data is stored or from where you can fetch the information to show as a result. So overall, the central processing includes the two units, and in the anatomy there is a term memory unit. After that, output devices. Output devices are the devices by which we can see the result, or by which we can see the output of the we can also generate the output through the output devices. So overall, the anatomy of the computer or the basic organization of a computer includes input devices, central processing unit, memory unit, and output devices. Understand? These are the operations performed under the anatomy of computer. First, take the input, the process of entering data and instructions into the computer system by the input devices. Second, store the data into the memory unit, saving the data and instructions so that they are available for the processing or as and when required. Third, processing the data where we can apply some of the arithmetic and logical operations over the data so that we can get the meaningful information or the valuable information. Output information, this is the process of producing useful information or the result for the users. And the last, control the workflow. That means a control unit directs the manner and the sequence in which all the operations are performed. So these are the 5 types of the operations performed by the anatomy of computer through this overall data.